Fundamentals of Real Estate Principles Flashcards, 11 questions with explained answers. Flashcard 1. Term, principle of competition. Definition, states that excessive profits breed competitive opportunities that then tend to destroy those profits due to the increased competition. The decrease in income affects the potential value of the business and the property. Therefore, this principle generally applies to income-related properties, such as retail operations or office supplies. X. A fast food outlet is built on a particular street in town. It does so well during its third year that more fast food outlets open on the same street. Sales at the original outlet decreased 50% and the value of the real estate is negatively affected by the drop in income. Flashcard 2. Term, principle of regression. Definition, is the opposite of the principle of progression. It states that when properties in the same area are dissimilar, the property with the greater value will be adversely affected, regress, in value by its close proximity to properties of lesser value in the immediate vicinity. This principle supports the real estate adage, don't buy the best house on the street if there are wide disparities in the neighborhood property types, as the superior house may lose value when it comes time to sell. X. The value of a more expensive home would be negatively influenced by its proximity to the less expensive properties in that neighborhood. It would likely sell for less than if it were in a neighborhood of similar more expensive properties. Flashcard 3. Term, principle of substitution. Definition, states that the buyer will pay more for a property than the cost of accruing a similar and equally desirable property on the market. Therefore, this principle is applicable to the decision-making process of all real estate buyers and sellers and is fundamental to all property valuations. X. There are 3 homes for sale in a subdivision, one for $380, $390 and $400. The buyer chooses to purchase the one for $380. Flashcard 4. Term, principle of external factors. Definition, a property, including economic, political, social and physical issues. Other examples include government issues and land use development pressures. X. Mark bought a house on the edge of town for $250K. The town subsequently introduced an economic incentive program to attract more businesses, and a year later large meat processing plant was built 2 kilometers from his house. Depending on the wind, the odor from the plant is evident in Mark's neighborhood. Flashcard 5. Term, principle of surplus activity. Definition, production that generates surplus activity. It refers to the net income that remains after all the expenses needed for the operation of the property have been paid and the capital invested in the operation has been satisfied. X. A hotel earns revenue from room rentals, food and beverage sales, conference bookings and other service fees. The hotel pays its expenses and capital costs, financing fees. Flashcard 6. Term, principle of contribution. Definition, states the value of a component, feature, relates to the overall value of the property. Specifically, the value of any property component is measured how much it adds to the home's market value. Ex. Bob wants to develop basement by adding $18,000 and he ensures that it meets permits after a new valuation is done and shows the developments only contributes $8,000 to increase the value. Flashcard 7. Term, principle of progression. Definition, states when the properties in the same are dissimilar, the property with lesser value will be enhanced in value by its close proximity to properties of greater value in the immediate vicinity. X. The value of a less expensive home would be positively influenced by its close proximity to the more expensive properties in that neighborhoods would likely sell more than if it were in a neighborhood of similar, less expensive properties. Flashcard 8. Term, principle of balance. Definition, states that the value is created and sustained when there is a balance. For X, this could refer to the balance between the amount and location of essential types of real estate within the same area or community. X. There are more grocery stores in the town of Alton than the area needs or can support. This means that some of the grocery stores will succeed at the expenses of the others, or none of the grocery stores will yield an adequate return on the investment they represent. Flashcard 9. Term, principle of change. Definition, identifies the dynamic of property valuation. It states that the economic, social and political factors are constantly in play, contributing to the changing property values. Ex. Chuck bought a small house in an older inner-city neighborhood 3 years ago for $300K. At the time, the neighborhood showed signs of deterioration. Over the last few years there is some evidence of neighborhood renewal and the area is becoming a trendy inner-city location for young professionals who want to live close to work and the city. A property valuation was done and is now worth $395K. Flashcard 10. Term, principle of highest and best use. Definition, is a key premise in a property valuation, as the ultimate utility of a property is the foundation of its market value. The highest and best use of any property is the use at the time of the valuation, which will likely produce the highest and best use of any property. Flashcard 11. Term, principle of consistent use. Definition, States when improved land is in a transition to another highest and best use. One use cannot be allocated to the land and another use allocated to the building or other improvements on the land. Therefore, consistency is required as the highest and best use for all aspects of the property, meaning the use of the property must be consistent. Sam wants to sell his commercial lot, which has an older house situated on it. Eli, a rep, is estimating the market value of Sam's home. Eli estimates that the highest and best use for the land for a commercial development, such as an office building. Therefore, Eli does not attribute any value to the older house in preparing the property valuation.